This is Joy. I'm back with my last guest design project for Sweet and Sassy Stamps. Today I decided to do something a little bit different and try to do dry embossing with a stencil. So I started out my project by blending Distress Oxide ink in the color Carved Pumpkin on a white panel just to get a solid base down before I move on to the next step. I think it turned out pretty cool. It's very strange for me to use orange, so this is way out of my comfort zone. So anyway, my next step is to bring in the stencil, which is delightfully delicate. I applied some pixie spray to that and I taped it to the back just so that it wouldn't shift on me. Then I brought out my Distress ink, also in the color Carved Pumpkin. And I just did this so that I would have a tone-on-tone look and blended that. I wasn't too concerned about how even it was. It was just to add texture and more background. And then once I was done with that, I left the stencil on and I took it to my platinum machine. So I used my base and the rubber mat and the embossing plate. And I ran it through my embossing machine and I got that nice texture that I just showed you up there. Now it's time for me to start stamping out the flowers. And I am using Maker Forte's Eclipse Black ink, which I am truly in love with because of how dark and crisp it stamps every single time. And I am using what stamp is that? The Blessing in Disguise stamp. Everything from here on out is going to be the Blessing in Disguise stamp. So I stamped out that floral twice so that I could make a bouquet on my page, which is kind of normal for me. And then I copic colored that. And I did use some of my favorite blue blends, which is no surprise just because blue pops on an orange background. Now, I will say I am drying this because I'm always fearful of black smearing, but honestly, it is a step that you can avoid. This ink does not smear with copic coloring. So I started out with coloring my leaves, and I used my go-to YG color combination, which is YG01, 67, 17, and the washed 03 over it. Now you will see that I am taking the 17 and I'm going on the underside part of the YG17. I just wanted a striped variegation on my leaves. I don't know that it was necessary. I'm not even sure that it came across, but I did repeat that process for both flowers. So it is a little repetitive. So I will say that Sweet and Sassy is amazing. And you have one more day left. This is one of the stamp sets that is their stamp of the week. So you will get that at a discounted price. I will have that linked in the description box below if you are interested. Also, they have free shipping, I think, with $75. Don't mark me on that one, but that's usually what the amount is from what I remember. Anyway, that is Sweet and Sassy Stamps if you are interested in it. And you'll see here I'm going to transition into my blues. I used my go-to blue combination of B91, 93, 97, and 99. Now I will say I love this combination. It's usually what I use for denim. I know, crazy that I'm using it for a flower, but I wanted a bold blue to pop on this orange background. So I outlined the area closest to the cone of the flower in the B99, and I also put some striations throughout the stamp. And then I followed that with a 97, and then very lightly with the 95, you'll see that coming in. As I said, I'm doing everything exactly the same on both flowers. And I did not like the color, so I needed to put that pop of BO2 in there. And that BO2 just gave it a little bit of a fluorescent pop, which I love on this flower. Anyway, moving on to the cone, I started with a base of Y19, and then I put a YR09, an E19, and I forget what the other one is, an E27. And I kind of stippled that in just so that I would get that texture of a cone flower, and I think that came across well. And then I just blended that one more time with the Y19. And then I moved into stamping some of the leaf stamps from the Blessing in Disguise, and I stamped that with Maker Forte's Cotswold Green, and I stamped that 5 times because typically I try to do things in an odd number just because it's more pleasing to the eye. And you'll see me using my ink spusher, and I am getting perfect impressions every single time with that. When I was finished stamping those, I took it to my scan and cut and had that fuzzy cut it because I have told you 1,000 times I am a lazy crafter. I do not fuzzy cut, so everything goes to the cut and scan. I can't sing enough praises about the cut and scan. Don't hesitate if you're on the fence over the cut and scan because it is my favorite tool in my craft room. I mean, seriously, my favorite tool in the craft room. And then you're going to see me bring in the background here in just a second. And I decided to cut that down, the orange background, to 3 3/4 by 5, and then I melted that onto a blue mat of 4 by 5 1/4, just so that I would have a nice border on that. I like doing that just because I think it just makes the focal panel pop every time off the card. You see me fiddling with the glue. I kind of overglued it, but oh well. And then I am adhering that to a 120-pound card base by Accent OPEG that I made beforehand. Sorry that my head gets in the way. That's going to happen quite a bit here in a few minutes. Now, I'm fidgeting with what my florals are going to look like, and then I remember I didn't stamp my sentiment. I totally recommend not mounting your card to the card base in case you mess up. Thankfully, I didn't. So I used my acetate grid from Simon Says Stamp to make sure I got my sentiment straight, and I stamped that with the Eclipse Black from Maker Forte. And I was very, very lucky that I got a good impression, and I did not smear it on my card base. I can't tell you that the sentiment's perfect because it was a blessing that I had no mistakes. So, see me kind of cleaning it up, just put in a second coating. And the reason I had to go in with a second was because I had embossed that panel, so I wanted to get a perfect impression. And then once I cleaned that up the last time, I used the BA sentiment, which is a subset sentiment of the just Blessings in Disguise, and I did stamp that a couple times just because I had wiped away the ink as to not smear it, and I don't think I got enough ink on it, so you'll see me, I think, stamp this 2 or 3 times, but like I said, if I hadn't made the mistake of adhering it to my card base ahead of time, I wouldn't have had that problem, you know. So I think that turned out well and showed up. I'm just thrilled with the fact that I didn't mess it up. Did I mention that? Anyhow, while I finish that up, I would appreciate it if you feel so inclined to like and subscribe to my channel. I am trying to grow the channel. I'm new to YouTube, as you all know, but I would really appreciate your support and encouragement along the way. Now you see me starting to pop up the florals, which I also used my scan and cut to fussy cut out. And I am popping up the bottom flower, which is kind of my go-to. I love dimension. It makes me extremely happy. As much texture I can add to a project I'm going to do, which is why I embossed the panel to begin with, right? So once I use my crafter's wand to remove the backing of those square foam adhesives, you're going to see that I take the other flower and I adhere it down with barely art glue, and I'm just trying to make it look like it's kind of a continuous bouquet. And this is where I come in. I'm going, I have got to add that greenery. I originally had stamped that not knowing what I wanted to do. So I start fidgeting with the greenery and I put the first one down. I'm very happy with that. But then as I proceed, I realize that some of the leaves are too big. So it is perfectly okay to take your scissors and do some surgery on your bouquets. There's no rule that says that you can't. And so I do that with no problem. When I first started making cards, that just freaked me out to cut something because I was afraid that I would mess it up. But honestly, it's just paper, right? That is my theory on everything. It is just paper. If you mess it up, stamp it, cut it out again, and you're good to go, right? So I guess that's what I would say to a new card maker is it's just paper. And if you mess up, just keep going. I mean, there are so many ways either to hide a blemish or to add pieces over another spot that's got a messy spot or something like that. So just keep going. So that is my second rule of the craft room. Just keep going. I can't stress that enough. I mean, I say this is handmade, not Hallmark. I know that I stole that from another YouTuber, but it is so, so true. And I hope you agree with me on that one. So now that I'm looking at the greenery, I am finding that there wasn't enough contrast. So I brought my YG03 Copic back in just to add the contrast. I didn't want it to be as bright as the other leaves, so I just brought that one color in. I think it turned out nice. Now you see me bringing in my gel pen onto the leaves and onto the petals. And what that does, it just adds highlights and more detail just to keep the eye moving. And I think it just turned out really special. And then I made sure that the cones of the flower were just perfect. So that really kind of sums up my card. I can't thank Sweet and Sassy enough for giving me this opportunity. And I just wanted to wish you a good day. And I'll see you next time. Keep crafting.